Good morning from my location. This morning edition, Doge Bambanding. We're bringing you this message from this honorable channel from Okute BTV. Please, as you are joining, try to share, like, and comment, and make sure that this message get to all platforms because it's very necessary that we preach the gospel of Shukwu Kabiam as we go on. So let's be good.
Why all this Trump? Why always you talk about Trump? We said to them because Trump is a very decent and honorable human being. He speaks the truth the same way that I do, not minding who is pleased. There is no space for political correctness. He calls things the way he sees them.
Do well to share this program to every platform because we are streaming live this morning. Today being the 4th of November, 2025. As President Trump about to handle the terrorists in Nigeria. So we are bringing you live updates on this channel. Only channel that speak the gospel of God.
When the clown they have in
We're having a network problem, so bear with us. So let's contend with this network. So we proceed fast. So make sure you share the program as we're bringing you live and direct on this channel. We are having a network failure, but by grace of God, we are moving forward. So join us as we go.
Why all this Trump? Why always you talk about Trump? We said to them because Trump is a very decent and honorable human being. He speaks the truth the same way that I do, not minding who is pleased. There is no space for political correctness. He calls things the way he sees them. When the clown they have in Asorok, the mask wearer,
akụkọ ụwa anyị na-ewetara gị si n'ọwara igwe okwu Okwute BTV ka o si wee labịara gị onye ọma na-ege ntị ọ bụla ihe anyị na-eme na-amasị gị anyị si gị tụsaa ya ka ọ rụsi ikwu ma rute ibe tupu anyị agaala iruola akụkọ ụwa anyị nwere tata anyị chọrọ ime ka matala ọ bụ okele ọrụ dịrị gị ịkwado Biafra Liberation Army ndị ọ bụ okele ọrụ ha ịchụ ndị terrorist chọọ ha ukwu eru ala mgbagerezie akụkọ ụwa tata n'uju dịka o si akpọtụ na oge gbamgbam dindi mana ala ebe ozi ya si abịara gị ụlọ ọwara igwe okwu Okwute BTV.
Good day, conscientious people of the world, Biafrans, lovers of freedom, and leaders of conscience. Today's date is 2nd November 2025. I want to keep this record straight over what is currently going on in Biafra land. This update is coming from the office of Major General Gento the Yahoo. Before I proceed, I want to give honor and respect to whom it is due. In the person of Triple General, the Chief of Biafran Defense Forces, Igwe Butuzo. Monster. More so, I want to appreciate Major General Gentle the Yahoo, who has given me the opportunity to address Biafrans worldwide over the ongoing genocide war against Biafrans in Biafra land, specifically in Imo State. I am Commander Truth is Power. This update is coming from the Office of Biafran Liberation Army. I want to appreciate and thank the President of United States of America, USA, who by the mercy and grace of God has decided to listen to the plight of the Christians in Nigeria. I want to put it straight that anyone listening to me must understand that the causes of insecurity in Nigeria are fully sponsored by the political parties in Nigeria, that is APC and PDP and the likes. The political parties are hiding under the umbrella of Islamic agenda, that is to Islamitize every part of Nigeria. Christians in Nigeria has been gruesomely murdered on a daily basis. Christian killing is still going on, not just in the northern part of Nigeria alone, I mean to say. It is happening in the east, Middle West, and every part of Nigeria. I'm using this great opportunity to intimate President Donald Trump of United States of America. Sir, you should understand the reasons why they don't want Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to be released from the DSS dungeon, irrespective of what the law have said. The leader of indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, is still in the dungeon of the DSS. Sir, these are some of Islamization and the Caliphate. That's number one. Number two, the genocide against Biafran people. Three, ethnic cleansing. Number four, exploitation and control of natural mineral resources within Biafra land. Number five, Nigerian government reintegrated Boko Haram, ISWAP, Fulani herdsmen, and ISIS into their military, armed forces, and defense. Number six, imposing Islamic religion on ethnic groups that are Christian, while they say they are practicing democracy. Democracy is freedom of speech, freedom of religion. Not the least, because of these resources, that is why Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, Mazi Samuel, and Biafran agitators are labeled terrorists. For they stand to oppose the Nigerian Islamic agenda against Biafran people. That's why they kidnapped Mazi Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya and extraordinarily redirect him to Nigeria. He has been tormented and persecuted on daily basis, which the Supreme Court, High Court, and other judicial body, they have said this man has no case to answer, that he should be discharged and acquitted. If truly Nigeria is a democratic nation, they should obey the rule of law. Some of the people, politicians, I mean to say, there are the causes of insecurity. I repeat myself, the causes of insecurity in Southeast. They are such as the governors, the senators, the House of Rep members, the judicial system, Ohaneze Ndị Igbo, and political appointees. These people I have just mentioned are the real sponsor, the sponsorer of insecurity, genocide, war, and criminal activities in Southeast. Their security outfit goes about killing innocent Biafrans in quest of Islamic agenda or Islamization of the whole part of Nigeria. Finally, the Biafran Defense Forces, under the command of Biafran Defense Chief in the person of General Igwe Butuzo and Major General Gento de Yahoo, they are calling on Biafrans all over the world, those in diaspora, to continue to support the Biafran Republic government in exile. Under the leadership of His Excellency, the Prime Minister Samuel Njoku Ekpa, and Ogechukwu Nkere, the active Prime Minister of Biafran Republic government in exile. As we speak now, the Nigerian securities are currently killing innocent civilians who have no arms on daily basis. Hope, Uzodimma. You contracted the reintegrated terrorists into Nigerian securities to kill any young youth on site at Arondi Zogo, Obinetiti, and East Environ.
Ọkwa egechala ka ya nwa bụ akụkọ si wee mee, mana ala obe okele ọrụ dịrị gị kwado ndị agha maka na ọ bụ ha na ha ji azọpụta anyị n'aka Fulani Islamic Jihad. Mgba ọ bụrụ na ihe anyị na-eme dị gị mma, soro anyị na YouTube, akara YouTube anyị, gaa na YouTube Okwute BTV, ọ bụ ihe ga-afụ dị. Soro anyị nke ọma, ọ masịkwa gị inye anyị super chat na YouTube, mekwara anyị ya ka ọ were dị mma ka anyị nwee ike la subscribe ka ị na-anụ olu anyị kwamgbe maka la
you are in support of America invading Nigeria. 100%. Guns are blazing.
I said 100%. Since the government has refused to listen, and leaders are not even helping matters.
Wouldn't that make that? Wouldn't the sovereignty of Nigeria? That's the question I'm asking.
Hold on. You now have a sovereignty where terrorists are not telling you what to do, Abi. You now have a sovereignty where terrorists are on the dining table with government, telling government what to do, and leaders are supporting it in Moses. That will be my annoyance. Why would anybody utter such words? These are things you should frown at. Who brought them into Nigeria? Was Nigeria like this in 1999? Moses, please be sincere to yourself. Who brought them into Nigeria? What are they doing here? Why are they not in Ghana?
But the time IPOB came, first was Masop. It was Rike came, and he suffered and suffered and suffered. Sometimes I can understand how they frustrated him. He suffered and suffered and suffered, went to jail, people were killed. Sabo ganged up. They kept frustrating him to the point where they converted him into a Sabo like themselves. You don't know, I read all those things. I took time and I studied everything. I knew. I know that there would be obstacles. I knew it. I know our people will fail. That was why before I went to the zoo in 2015, I said, I will not let you down, but you will let me down. But fortunately for me, you don't know how much I love IPOB. You don't know how much I love you people. You have no clue. You have no understanding. As I was in jail, I was in detention, incommunicado. Somebody came to me and said, do you know what is happening outside? I said, no. They said, IPOB have blocked Head Bridge in Onitsha. They have taken over everywhere. I said, what? He said, yes. I said, why? They said, because they will not let you down. I shed tears in prison. I said, my God in heaven. They said, we will not let our leader down who has been. He said it before he was arrested. My deputy chairman went to the archives and brought out the clip where I said, I will not let Biafrans down, but they will let me down. Biafrans went mad all over the world. They blocked Head Bridge on it for 4 days. And the world knew who Nnamdi Kanu is.
I want you people to understand that the liberation of Biafra has entered the highest stage in the history of Biafra.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to bring attention to the tragedy Christians in Nigeria are experiencing. The deadly terrorist organization Boko Haram is trying to eliminate the Christian faith from Nigeria. This is the same terrorist group that kidnapped dozens of young schoolgirls and burned innocent civilians alive in cages. According to reports, over 3.5 million people have been forced to flee their homes. 3 churches are destroyed every single day. 7,000 Christians were massacred this year alone, and the faithful must now meet in secret or in burnt-out sanctuaries. Sadly, the world is turning a blind eye to the plight of Christians in Nigeria. There are no embedded journalists covering the violence. There are not daily updates. Politicians around the world are not asked questions about how they will respond. We cannot ignore this violence and tragic loss of life. We must speak out and shine a light on what's happening so that people can donate to relief efforts and provide support to those displaced by violence. To my brothers and sisters in Christ, we know you know the power of prayer. We will not forget you. Stay strong. Keep the faith. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to bring attention to the tragedy Christians in Nigeria are experiencing. The deadly terrorist organization Boko Haram is trying to
President Trump is threatening to go to war on Nigeria a day after designating the West African nation a country of particular concern over the killings of thousands of Christians there.
Nyanne bụbu nwoke lụchọgụ nwaanyị nwụrụ akụkọ. Ogechukwu nkere la brigi gọọmenti agala Washington DC ga lụọ ọgụ ka dike. Lee dike ka ọ nọ n'ebe na-emebi iwu la Washington. Now the whole Nigerian news is reporting Trump have put Nigeria in CPC. So American government will want to invade in Nigeria. Like say la Nigerians, onye mere abu oge chukwu nkere. While nna dị eburu ukpe ekele bi onye kwesị ka ebi ukpe ekele. Biafra Republic government in exile hụrụ ntutu tasị la Biafra ga-enwerịrị onwe ha. Today is happening. The whole Nigeria is vibrating. Na tulumba na ole ebe ala akụkọ kambu story. Kente kila ma akụkọ mba ụwa ka nye Trump gbara Nigeria. US Army adịra ready to invade Nigeria. Ma ọ bụla ịma hụ. Mara nke now.
Threatening to go to war on Nigeria a day after designating the West African nation a country of particular concern over the killings of thousands of Christians there. Stephanie Bennett is live in London with more on this. Stephanie.
Hey, John. Yeah, the president has been very vocal in the last 24 hours on Truth Social. I want to read you just a couple excerpts of one that came out 5 minutes ago. The president said, quote, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killings of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now, quote, disgraced country, guns a-blazing, he says. He is then hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. And he also says in that post, warning the Nigeria government better move fast. Now, yesterday, the president posted also on Truth Social announcing that he was going to put this country as a country of particular concern, saying something must be done. He's now asking Congressman Riley Moore, Chairman Tom Cole, and the House Appropriations Committee to look into it and to report back.
I think this is going to make a huge difference, and we're going to get right to work on this and get to the bottom of what's happening and give President Trump a full menu of options that we can use to try to stop these killings.
Yeah, and Moore says there's about 15 possible options, including suspension of security assistance and targeted sanctions. Nigeria is, of course, considered one of the most dangerous places in the world to be a Christian, according to the well-regulated Open Doors International Group. Over the years, thousands of Christians have been killed in churches, schools, and entire villages have been burned. Some even brand it a genocide. The Nigerian government vowed today to keep fighting violent extremism and said it hoped Washington would remain a close ally. But some analysts blame the country's inability to protect its citizens over that wide spectrum of armed groups that operate across the country, including Boko Haram.
I think fundamentally Nigeria is a failed state. Corruption is simply out of control. So are the kinds of resources that should be there. It is a major exporter of oil, so it should be a rich country, but a lot of it gets diverted through corruption. So they don't have the resources in order to provide their security forces what they need in order to fight back.
And in order to combat this issue, earlier this year, Washington approved $346 million in arms for Nigeria. Back to you, John.
All right.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to bring attention to the tragedy Christians in Nigeria are experiencing. The deadly terrorist organization Boko Haram is trying to eliminate the Christian faith from Nigeria.
President Trump is threatening to go to war on Nigeria a day after designating the West African nation a country of particular concern over the killings of thousands of Christians there.
Nyanne bụ nwoke lochọgụ nwaanyị nwụrụ akụkọ. Oge Chukwu nkere la brigi gọọmenti agala Washington DC ga lụọ ọgụ ka dike. Lee dike ka ọ nọ n'ebe na-emebi iwu la Washington. Now the whole Nigerian news is reporting Trump have put Nigeria in CPC. So American government will want to invade Nigeria. Like say la Nigerians, onye m ya bụ oge Chukwu nkere. While nna dị eburu ukpe ekele bi onye kwesị ka ebi ukpe ekele. Biafra Republic government in exile hụrụ ntutu tasị la Biafra ga-enwerịrị onwe ha. Today is happening. The whole Nigeria is vibrating. Na tulumba na ole ebe ala akụkọ kambu story. Kente kila ma akụkọ mba ụwa ka nye Trump gbara Nigeria. US Army adịra ready to invade Nigeria. Ma ọ bụla ịma hụ. Mara nke now.
Threatening to go to war on Nigeria a day after designating the West African nation a country of particular concern over the killings of thousands of Christians there. Stephanie Bennett is live in London with more on this. Stephanie.
Hey, John. Yeah, the president has been very vocal in the last 24 hours on Truth Social. I want to read you just a couple excerpts of one that came out 5 minutes ago. The president said, quote, if the Nigerian government continues to allow the killings of Christians, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now, quote, disgraced country, guns a-blazing, he says. He is then hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. And he also says in that post, warning the Nigeria government better move fast. Now, yesterday, the president posted also on Truth Social announcing that he was going to put this country as a country of particular concern, saying something must be done. He's now asking Congressman Riley Moore, Chairman Tom Cole, and the House Appropriations Committee to look into it and to report back.
I think this is going to make a huge difference, and we're going to get right to work on this and get to the bottom of what's happening and give President Trump a full menu of options that we can use to try to stop these killings.
Yeah, and Moore says there's about 15 possible options, including suspension of security assistance and targeted sanctions. Nigeria is, of course, considered one of the most dangerous places in the world to be a Christian, according to the well-regulated Open Doors International Group. Over the years, thousands of Christians have been killed in churches, schools, and entire villages have been burned, some even branded a genocide. The Nigerian government vowed today to keep fighting violent extremism and said it hoped Washington would remain a close ally. But some analysts blame the country's inability to protect its citizens over that wide spectrum of armed groups that operate across the country, including Boko Haram.
I think fundamentally Nigeria is a failed state. Corruption is simply out of control. So are the kinds of resources that should be there. It is a major exporter of oil, so it should be a rich country, but a lot of it gets diverted through corruption. So they don't have the resources in order to provide their security forces what they need in order to fight back.
And in order to combat
the deadly terrorist organization Boko Haram is trying to eliminate the Christian faith from Nigeria. This is the same terrorist group that kidnapped dozens of young schoolgirls and burned innocent civilians alive in cages. According to reports, over 3.5 million people have been forced to flee their homes. 3 churches are destroyed every day. 7,000 Christians were massacred this year alone, and the faithful must now meet in secret or in burnt-out sanctuaries. Sadly, the world is turning a blind eye to the plight of Christians in Nigeria. There are no embedded journalists covering the violence. There are not daily updates. Politicians around the world are not asked questions about how they will respond. We cannot ignore this violence and tragic loss of life. We must speak out and shine a light on what's happening so that people can donate to relief efforts and provide support to those displaced by violence. To my brothers and sisters in Christ, we know you know the power of prayer. Not forget you. Stay strong. Keep the faith.
Tell Trump to save our life in Nigeria. They are killing Christians in Nigeria. Massacre Christians. They are tired to be outside performing burial every day, and they expect us to silence.
He's asking us for help. We have the ability in our day and age to actually do something, to have a video like this reach the ears of the president. Spam tag Donald Trump in these comments. Let's get this message to the president and let him know that we care about our own body as Christians. They're our own body. They're in the body with us. And if they're being massacred, if they're being martyred, if they're being cut, if they're being shot, so are we. And there are things we can do about it. We can bring awareness, yes, but there are organizations that are literally boots on the ground, saving them, providing aid to them, trauma counseling them, food, shelter, Bibles, all of that. I'll put a link in my bio for Global Christian Relief. Let's take care of our own body. If you gave $1 a day, $5, whatever the Lord calls you to give a day, it would go so far. And I believe one day you might stand before a brother and sister in Christ who was in this position in Nigeria, and they'll look at you and say, "You don't know me, but you helped me when I needed it most.
Ọ bụrụ na ihe anyị na-eme dị gị mma, soro anyị na YouTube, akara YouTube anyị, gaa na YouTube Okwute BTV, ọ bụ ihe ị ga-afụ. Soro anyị nke ọma. Ọ masịkwa gị inye anyị super chat na YouTube, mekwara anyị ya ka ọ were dị mma ka anyị nwee ike na subscribe ka ị na-anụ olu anyị kwamgbe maka na mkpara akwụkwọ na-eje ije na ọ bụ ikuku enyere aka. Ọnweghịkwa gọọmenti ọzọ anyị nwere abụghị Biafra Republic Government in Exile nke acting Prime Minister His Excellency Ogechukwu Nkere nọrọ isi ya ụgbọ ya were anyị ya ebe ozi ya sadara gị ụlọ igwe okwu Okwute BTV ka enwasị.
Jihadist movement called Islamic Nigeria government. In country you call a democratic country, we have 12 states in northern Nigeria ruling with Sharia law, and you call it a several nation. I don't think that it makes sense to anybody. So we are calling international community, we are calling Donald Trump and all his cabinet to come and save Biafrans living here. Let American military join together with the Biafran Liberation Army to deliver Biafrans and those that want to be free in this evil country called Nigeria. Please, we are begging international community. All we need is help. Nigeria government is unaliving innocent citizens every day. So we need to speak out. You need to share this message. Let it get to everybody that have conscience. Let it get to international community. Let them see the kind of life, what we are passing through in this zoological republic of animal kingdom called Nigeria. Please, we are begging every meaningful person in the world to join hands with us.
I am standing on
Nigeria
the mass grave of
terrorists.
501 Christians, majority of whom
So everybody should support this movement to end this Islamization against Biafrans, against Christians, because we cannot take it any longer. We cannot take it any longer. Join us to end Islamization. Join us to end evil entity called Nigeria. Only way you will join us, you will help us to stop this Islamization, is by sharing this message. So you will get to Trump and his cabinet. Let them do the needful. Send American soldiers. Let them come here. Biafra Liberation Army is ready to work with them, hand to hand, shoulder to shoulder, to make sure that they destroy every military in Nigeria is a terrorist zone. The whole Fulani bandit Boko Haram, ISWAP. They are living in army Nigeria military barracks. So come and we will show you where they are living. Every military barracks in Nigeria.
I am standing on the mass grave of 501 Christians, majority of whom are women and children that were slaughtered, literally slaughtered with swords and machetes. Some of them burned alive in their homes, and some of them who were babies smashed on the wall, smashed on the ground with their brains spilled out completely, all for their faith in Jesus. The victims of the March 7th, 2010 attack in the village of Dogonahawa, located on the western edge of Jos, the capital of Plateau State in central Nigeria, are presently beneath my feet, right? So you can just pan the camera just to the ground and be a tiny bit, and you can pull out. They are all here, and you can see how large this space is, right? So they were all impoverished villagers, some of whom could barely afford to feed in a day. And so many of the survivors, very few actually, could not afford befitting or exclusive burials for their family members. And therefore, they were all lumped up, thrown upon one another in this mass grave that was dug several feet deep. It was probably more than 10 feet just to be able to accommodate the population that's had been slaughtered and needed to be buried in it. And you can see how large this is. I estimate that this would be about probably 40 by 30 feet. I believe. No, it should definitely be more. From my left to my right would probably be short of 50 feet just by probably a few inches. And to the end there, where you have that monument, the tombstone, that should be about 100 feet. So we're looking at a space of close to 50 by 100 feet, all containing skulls, skeletons, bodies, charred bone fragments of Christians that were slaughtered in one night by terrorists whom residents tell us were shouting Allahu Akbar and speaking the Fulani dialect while slaughtering innocent babies, slitting the bellies of pregnant women, pulling out their fetuses, pulling out their unborn babies, and smashing them on the ground. Right here, I had the opportunity to meet with the pastor in charge of the Church of Christ in Nation in this community, and he has shared with us what the experience was like. And his video is contained in another, his interview is contained in the next video, and you can look that out. But I just thought that it is just important to highlight the gravity, the depth of the genocide against Christians that has persisted for more than 2 decades. We're looking at between 2 to 3 decades. And opponents of this anti-genocide campaign, including Muslim politicians, Christian politicians who are complicit and turning a blind eye, and even church leaders who are complicit and turning a blind eye, claim that the perpetrators of this genocide are mere terrorists who do not spare Muslims. But the question is, there were Muslims in this community within the years leading to this attack. But in the weeks leading to the attack, residents tell us that the Muslims, including members of the Hausa and Fulani ethnicities, who had previously settled here for tin mining activities, evacuated the town. And the Christians were peaceful people. They were living, they were unsuspecting, they were not anticipating any invasions. They did not care to ask questions. Of course, they hadn't involved or engaged in any clashes as the opponents or the genocide deniers are claiming. So they didn't anticipate any invasions or any attacks against, on them. But on the nights of March the 7th, 2010, this community was swarmed by hundreds of Allahu Akbar shouting terrorists who left death and destruction in their trail. At that time, I was a young reporter working with a government newspaper in the state of Benue, deployed to Plateau State as a correspondent. I had just commenced my practice as a journalist in 2008, and I didn't have so much experience covering wars, but I witnessed at least 2 major incidents and reported on them. The mass slaughter of Christians on between the 26th and 28th of November 2008, following county elections that did not favor those that claim to be the owners of the state, the owners of the country, who decided to take laws into their hands by slaughtering Christians in protest to the results of the local government elections that didn't favor them. And later on January the 19th, when another group of extremists, Muslim extremists, started riots after during a church service. They started by interrupting a church service in the northern part of Jos, and when the leaders of the church attempted to appeal to them to desist from their acts, which included making provocative utterances, and even playing football, soccer in front of the churchyard while church service was ongoing, they decided to take up arms and go after Christians. I witnessed that, and I reported on that. I reported on, of course, the Dogonahawa massacres. But at the time, I could not afford a camera phone. I could not afford a decent camera. And so all I did was to interview town leaders and church leaders and survivors without having to come here to document the aftermath of this 4-hour-long slaughter that happened under the watchful eyes of the Nigerian army, who residents tell us never showed up until the slaughter, the massacres were complete and the terrorists had left. So I witnessed and reported on that. Mikes, who managed to come here and document these massacres, the aftermath, the evidences of these slaughters, religiously follow these massacres from 2001, including the brutal slaughter of more than 1,000 Christians from September 7, 2001 up to September 11, 2001, which saw the capture of a prominent Christian town 35 miles southwest of Jos, at the time known as Rankum, R-A-N-K-U-M, located in the Riyom County or local government in Nigeria. For the sake of those who care to know, that town was captured after all the residents were slaughtered and the survivors displaced. And today it has remained, to this day, it has remained a no-go zone for Christians and a staging ground for further attacks and village takeovers. As of today, there are more than 200 Christian towns that have been seized and turned to Muslim no-go zones, with residents and or witnesses telling us that the terrorists who led the assaults, who led the attacks, emerged from Mahanga and the surrounding areas. But again, the Nigerian government knows about all of this, but it will not take action. Just as it will not want you, who is watching this, to know about the slaughters and the massacres of Christians, including the brutal slaughter of 501 identified, underline the word identified, the 501 victims of this attack that are underneath my feet right here in this mass grave are only those who were identified. There were many of them who could not be buried because they were burned to ashes. And so right here, we have just one of thousands of evidences of the genocide against Christians in Nigeria, Africa's largest country by population and also economy. Now imagine that these terrorists succeed, which is obviously their goal, in taking over Nigeria. Already they are pushing southward to the oil-rich region, the oil-rich south of Nigeria. They started from the northeast and they've been pushing to the northwest, pushing now, concentrating in the north central, which is the Middle Belt region. And because in the northwest, the majority of the Christians have been displaced and slaughtered and displaced, they are exclusively the ones in there, and their differences are beginning to manifest. The Shias, the Sunnis are all beginning to turn against themselves. It's typical of radical in Afghanistan. We've seen it even recently after Israel withdrew from Gaza. We've seen Hamas torturing innocent Palestinians, fellow Muslims. It's the same thing that is happening now that genocide deniers are claiming is just acts of terrorism. But they are, and they were, and they still are united in the common goal of eradicating Christians from the world's largest nation. The only places where you have other motivations for this, especially those in Muslim communities, are places that they have seized and they are now beginning to practice and manifest their differences. You have in places, for instance, in a place like Damari, Benungwari local government of or county of Kaduna State, you have local bandit gangs dwelling with Ansaru terrorists who are allied to Al-Qaeda, battling for the control of that region. But to institute Islam, radical Islam, in the Middle Belt region, it is exclusively an anti-Christian genocide. There is no single, in this mass grave, there is no Muslim, single atheist or traditional idol worshipper in this mass grave. They're all Christians. And they are pushing to the south, pushing southward to the oil-rich region of Nigeria. Imagine what they can do if they succeed in taking the whole of the country, which is obviously their goal. Imagine what will happen to the rest of Africa and the rest of the world if Nigeria, with all of its vast mineral resources, falls to the control of radical Islam.
Soro anyị la YouTube, akara YouTube anyị, gaa la YouTube Okwute TV, ọ bụ ihe ga-afụli. Soro anyị nke ọma, ọ masịkwa gị inye anyị super chat la YouTube, mekwara anya ka ọ were dị mma ka anyị nwee ike la subscribe ka ịla n'olu anyị kwamgbe makala mkpara akwụkwọ na-eje ije na ọ bụ ikuku enyere aka ọnwaghọkwa gọọmenti ọzọ anyị nwere abụghị Biafra Republic Government in Exile nke acting Prime Minister His Excellency Ogechukwu Nkere nọrọ isi ya ụgbọ ya were anya ya ebe ozi ya sadara gị igwe okwu Okwute BTV ka enwesịa